Clark is getting back on the golf course again this offseason, participating in the Annika golf outing. And she has a couple of caddies that are going to be taking the course alongside her in the form of Sophie Cunningham and Lexie Hull. Sophie and Lexie kind of called this shot, or especially Sophie did, back before when it was first announced that Caitlin was going to do this event again.
Caitlin Clark recently received 2 caddies for her golf tournament, and one of them happens to be Sophie Cunningham, the same player many believed was leaving the Indiana Fever. Now she's out there carrying Clark's golf clubs. Meanwhile, the WNBA offseason has gone so silent it feels like the whole league slipped into hibernation. Has any sports league ever faded from your mind so quickly that you almost forgot it was around? Share your thoughts in the comments.
Clark with Nelly Korda, who, was impressed with Caitlin's poise on the golf course last year, even with the crowds, and said she got into women's basketball because of Caitlin. Sophie Cunningham says, Caitlin Clark need a couple of caddies. Lexie Hull with the smiling face or whatever that is and some beer cheers. And Lexie Hull says, sign us up. And you thought that was the end of it, right? At least I did. I did not think we'd be revisiting that. Just felt like the cute little remnants of the Instagram comments section. But it is actually happening.
Here's what's going on. Caitlin Clark is taking part in a celebrity golf tournament, the kind of event athletes usually join during the off-season when they're not training or handling other behind-the-scenes routines. For this tournament, she needed caddies. Not just regular ones, but special guest caddies who could make the event more fun and engaging for both fans and the media.
Also have the GOAT, Caitlin Clark, bringing Lexie Hull and Sophie Cunningham along for the ride as golf caddies at her golf tournament.
Enter Lexie Hull and Sophie Cunningham, 2 of Caitlin's Indiana Fever teammates, both stepping onto the golf course to spend the day carrying clubs and offering tips on which iron to use. On the surface, it's just a fun off-season outing. Teammates relaxing, sharing laughs, and showing their bond off the court. All perfectly normal. But here's where things get a little more intriguing. Sophie Cunningham's future with the Indiana Fever has been up in the air. There's been plenty of talk about whether she'll stay, whether she's satisfied with her role, and if the team values her enough to keep her. Adding to that speculation, the Fever's social media has barely mentioned her. Almost complete silence, leaving fans to wonder if something deeper might be happening behind the scenes.
Now taking her talents to the golf course, where she will join Clark for the Annika Pro-Am tournament next week. Unlike Clark, however, Cunningham will not play in the tournament. She and Fever teammate Lexie Hull have committed to be Clark's guest.
So when Sophie shows up as Caitlin's caddy at the golf tournament, fans immediately start reading between the lines. Maybe it means she's staying with the Fever. Maybe it's a sign that everything's fine within the team. Maybe it's proof she's still part of the organization's plans. Or perhaps it's nothing that deep. Maybe Sophie just had a free day and thought carrying golf clubs for fun sounded like a good time. Who really knows?
Caitlin Clark has opened up the opportunity for both Sophie Cunningham and Lexie Hull to be a part of this huge non-basketball event. So again, when you talk about Caitlin Clark opening things up for other people, it's not just on the basketball court. That is the kind of influence.
The announcement came from Gainbridge, an organization linked with Indiana's sports franchises and the Fever itself. They revealed that Sophie Cunningham and Lexie Hull would be caddying for Caitlin Clark, joined by pro golfer Nelly Korda and Lauren Yen. The event is scheduled for November 12th, giving fans about a week to look forward to seeing basketball stars trying their hand at golf. And honestly, this should feel like a much bigger deal. A year ago, if someone had said Caitlin Clark was joining a celebrity golf tournament with her teammates as caddies, it would have been all over the place. National headlines, trending hashtags, non-stop coverage. But now, it's just quietly happening, and most people don't seem all that interested. Which leads to the real point here. The WNBA offseason has been unusually quiet, almost too quiet. The league that dominated headlines last year, breaking viewership records, selling out arenas, and staying in the spotlight, has almost vanished from public discussion. And that's a real concern. Think back to just a year ago. Caitlin Clark was still in college, yet the buzz around her future in the WNBA was massive. Every game she played drew millions of viewers. Every interview sparked conversation, and even people who had never followed women's basketball started paying attention. The league was riding a wave of momentum that seemed unstoppable, like it could reshape everything. Then came the season. Caitlin joined the Fever, brought in huge attention, and the excitement continued to build. Viewership soared, crowds grew, merchandise flew off the shelves. But somewhere along the line, that energy faded, and the wave that once carried the league forward began to lose strength. And now, during the off-season, when teams should be capitalizing on that excitement and keeping fans involved, everything has gone completely silent. Part of the issue is simply that nothing's happening. No major trades, no big announcements, no fresh storylines to follow. Off-seasons in sports can be slow, sure, but the WNBA needed to keep its momentum alive. They had new fans, especially casual ones, who were curious but not yet fully invested. Those fans needed reasons to stay interested. Instead, all they got was quiet. The other problem stems from how the league handled Caitlin Clark during the season. There was non-stop negativity, constant criticism, and ongoing drama surrounding her. Fellow players made pointed remarks, and analysts continuously questioned her impact and presence in the league. People started arguing over whether Caitlin even deserved all the attention she was getting, and for new fans tuning in, it quickly became exhausting. They came to enjoy basketball but instead found themselves caught in some strange culture war that had little to do with the sport itself. One person in NBA media even mentioned that it's become problematic in the WNBA to not dislike Caitlin Clark, which is pretty wild. In the NBA, if someone constantly criticizes LeBron James like Skip Bayless does, they're seen as a troll, but still part of the discussion. In the WNBA, though, it almost feels like if you're not openly bashing Caitlin, you're viewed negatively. That's not a healthy atmosphere for a league that's trying to expand its audience. And it's likely one of the big reasons so many fans have tuned out. They didn't sign up for endless drama and negativity. They just wanted to watch good basketball. They just wanted to enjoy great basketball and support the players they admired. Instead, what they got was a league that often seemed more focused on internal drama than on continuing its momentum. Now, as the off-season rolls on, fan interest has dropped sharply. Stories that would have been major headlines a year ago barely register today. Caitlin hitting the golf course with her teammates as Caddy should have been a fun, lighthearted moment to keep fans engaged, but instead, it's just a small blip most people won't even notice. Still, the Sophie Cunningham angle stands out. She's been one of the Fever's key contributors, bringing shooting, toughness, and valuable experience to a young roster. She's exactly the kind of veteran presence a developing team needs. Yet for some reason, a portion of fans have been calling for her exit over issues unrelated to basketball, the same kind of off-court noise that's been hurting the league's image. So, seeing Sophie step in as Caitlin's caddy might actually be a good sign, a hint that relationships within the team are stronger than people think. Maybe it means she's happy with the team. Maybe it shows that relationships inside the Fever are solid. Maybe it's a hint that the organization plans to keep her around. Or maybe it means nothing at all. She could just be a supportive teammate helping out at a golf tournament. Overanalyzing moments like this is exactly how unnecessary drama starts. Lexie Hull's presence makes total sense. She's been Caitlin's teammate, they get along well, and she seems like the type who'd jump at the chance to join a fun off-season event. No drama there, just genuine support between teammates. But the whole situation really shows how much things have shifted in just 1 year. Last season, anything connected to Caitlin Clark instantly turned into a massive headline. She couldn't make a single move without it being analyzed, debated, and turned into a headline. But now, she's playing in a celebrity golf tournament alongside her teammates, and hardly anyone seems to notice. Part of that is normal. The initial excitement fades, people's attention shifts, and sports naturally go through cycles of interest. But for the WNBA, that kind of drop-off is dangerous. They needed to turn those casual viewers into dedicated fans and keep building on the momentum they had. Instead, they let it slip away. And that recent comment about Paige Bucher's fans acting like K-pop stans, endlessly retweeting content with Sabrina Carpenter profile pictures, but not actually watching games, isn't far off. There's a ton of online chatter surrounding women's basketball that doesn't translate into real engagement. What truly matters are the numbers: viewership, attendance, and fan retention, and right now, those numbers are trending in the wrong direction. The idea that if Lexie Hull had been announced as Caitlyn's caddy a year ago it would have made national headlines is probably true. Back then, everything related to Caitlin Clark was news. Every teammate connection, every off-season event, every small social media update drew massive attention. Now, it's just another story passing quietly by, and that's unfortunate for everyone involved. The players worked hard to build that wave of momentum, and Caitlin Clark in particular brought unprecedented visibility to the league. But that attention wasn't managed or sustained, and now the off-season feels lifeless, like all the excitement from just a few months ago has faded into memory. The golf tournament itself should actually be a fun event. Caitlin's got real skill on the course, which makes sense since many basketball mechanics translate well to golf. Having teammates like Lexie and Sophie as caddies adds a friendly, entertaining touch. If people tune in, it'll likely be a great watch. But the very fact that we have to wonder whether anyone will tune in, that's the real issue. This is Caitlin Clark, the player who shattered viewership records, packed arenas, and got the entire sports world talking about women's basketball. And yet now, an off-season event featuring her and her teammates might pass by with barely any notice. That's a steep decline in interest in such a short time. The WNBA urgently needs to find ways to keep fans engaged during the off-season. They need stories, updates, and reasons for people to stay connected. Other leagues have mastered this. The NBA offseason is almost as exciting as the regular season, filled with trade rumors, free agency moves, summer league action, and nonstop news. In contrast, the WNBA's offseason has been nearly silent, and that silence is draining the momentum they worked so hard to build. Sophie Cunningham's appearance at this golf event shouldn't be treated like some major hint about her future with the team, but it is being viewed that way simply because there's nothing else going on. When there's no real news to talk about, fans start dissecting every small detail, searching for meaning where there might not be any. That kind of situation isn't healthy for the league or its players. Still, it's strange that the Fever's social media hardly posts about Sophie. If she's an important part of the roster, why isn't she being highlighted more? If the organization values her, you'd expect them to show it. Maybe it means nothing, but it could also hint at something happening behind the scenes. Either way, it's fueled speculation that probably didn't need to exist in the first place. The bigger picture here is that the WNBA had something special and couldn't hold on to it. They had national attention, a surge of new fans, and genuine momentum. But poor management, needless drama, and an off-season with almost zero engagement have let that momentum fade away. Now, the league's drifted back to being something most people aren't thinking about, and that's a massive missed opportunity. Caitlin Clark playing golf with her teammates should have been a lighthearted, engaging story to keep fans connected during the break. Instead, it's barely making a ripple, which says a lot about how far the league's buzz has dropped. Hopefully, things pick up as the next season approaches, but right now, the WNBA off-season feels completely lifeless, like it's been forgotten altogether. So yes, Caitlin Clark got Sophie Cunningham and Lexie Hull as her golf caddies, and the WNBA offseason remains about as exciting as watching paint dry. A year ago, that would have been headline news. Now, it's just another moment slipping quietly by. If you liked this reality check, hit that like button and subscribe for more updates.